that's no good either, or I give up on it, you know. So.
I actually wear 3 hats. One is a teacher, and I teach pottery and drawing and painting, and I'm a mixed media artist, which is something I've just started to do, and I've been doing pottery really ever since my daughter was born 15 years ago. The first thing I started doing was working in an art gallery, because my degree and everything was in art. Then I moved into public relations, so I did that for about 25 years. And so then when Dominic came along a bit later, I thought public relations, a bit full on really. When I was pregnant, I was bored, I was big, I was fat, I didn't want to go out. And yet I wanted to do something creative, and so thinking of the child that was going to be born, I started making toys out of papier-mâché. So, you know, keeping my hands busy. And I made all these things that sort of sit on windowsills, you know, they're sort of animals like a zebra. I mean, I was thinking of going back to college, I suppose, when I was trying to think what else I could do. Well, I obviously thought I would do something creative. I went back and retrained as a fine art ceramist and then a teacher. And I got quite a few students started, and they've now gone off to do their own thing. And the people who come to do pottery come because they've always wanted to do it, they've got some time, maybe they've had children, maybe they want to do it with their children, I mean, all different reasons. But word of mouth, you know, people just come and join me from there. And obviously I've got schools around me. I also go into colleges. It's great, because you know, when you first came to the class, you were really a beginner, weren't you? So
well, yes, I know,
this is fantastic that you've sort of taken on board not only this as, you know, a hobby, but actually making some money at it. That's great. The people who do drawing and painting, I think, just have such a lot of fun, or they seem to now. I mean, I've got an exhibition of some of my students who've been with me for 5 years now. They keep coming back because we keep doing different things. I want them to take on creativity. I mean, I really believe that creativity is a very good thing for one's soul. And I think through creativity, you see the world around you better, the shapes, the colours, you know, and the people. I think this is the starting point. My grandmother was always into making rag mats and using up bits and pieces. You know, there was Mum's dress here, and, you know, this was probably Grandpa's old pair of pants, you know. So she would use all the bits to, you know, make something beautiful. The idea of actually using the things that I had, like paper or bits of plastic, clay, was introduced to me by my parents, the people who were around me, who were always creative. And then so when I became an artist later on in my life, I went back to what I knew, which was all the bits of garbage, and started putting those together to make my art. I've actually started, when I was first making pottery, making these out of garbage bits. I was very, very perturbed by I suppose that the rubbish that people throw away. I'm still quite worked up about it, but we're all recycling now, so it's getting a little bit better. But I took the rubbish that we all throw away and thinks disappears, and made moulds of it, and then tried to create these monsters. And this was something I did a while back, you know, I'm not still doing that. I think looking back at my work now, because this is one I held on to, I think actually nobody wants to buy it because it's quite an ugly looking guy, but actually I didn't want to sell it because it has a lot of me in it. I hate phones, technology. I loathe the fact that we've all started sitting at our computers and not talking to one another. And the idea that man is still using his resources, you know, for his own use, and, you know, as a result, birds and nature are being damaged. This is what this is about. And the anger in me is conveyed into the piece. So I think people see that. It looks pretty poisonous, and so they sort of shy away from it. So I've had to think, if I want to sell, how to move from that and bring work forward that's a little bit more pleasing. And then I've sort of moved on now to African sculpture, which is a cross between a sort of a primitive man and a man who's covered in graffiti and has got an attitude. So you can see these two kind of things embroiled together. I've now moved into things with the mixed media that I'm doing. It's a little bit more colourful, people associate with it more. Although it still uses the rubbish, it's still the same message coming through about the environment and that we shouldn't be destroying it. So it's a sort of natural progression, in my mind anyway, to move now to making these mixed media pictures. I got started really because when you go on the beach on the Atlantic side of Nevis, in the Caribbean where I go, there's all this rubbish there, and I pick it all up because I think, oh, I don't want to swim here, put it in the car, and when I look at it later, before throwing it away, I think, oh, because I'm that sort of minded person, I can make something with this. This is what I start off with, this sort of thing that comes up on the beach. It's not always in this whole form. And I cut this and make things like this from it. And this is full of rubbish, which is bits and pieces of basket and bottle and the fishing rope. And it obviously isn't as clean as this when I first find it, but this is all picked off the beach, and then I cut it up and grade it into different colours. You know, I just work like an artist with all these different things and put them together as I need a colour, just like a paint brush, putting them on. They've kind of evolved on their own, these cards, because I started off just trying to do sort of vague subjects with fishing boats and palm trees to represent the Caribbean islands, not specifically Nevis. But now there are actually hotels and restaurants and businesses out there who want to have a card that represents them. Well, it's sort of evolving by itself. You know, you start a stone rolling and it just sort of keeps going. I think all artists who are striving to be artists are never content, and that's why they keep moving forward, you know, keep experimenting. It's part of the challenge. Yeah, this is commissions. You know, so it's
completely evolved.
Yes, it's evolved.
Wow.
But it's in the Caribbean,
Yeah.
so by the time I get there, you know.